Welcome, everybody. Just letting ourselves enjoy being together. Enjoy settling into this time together. Hello to all our Facebook friends. Tonight we're going to return to where we took a little detour about 7 weeks ago when we came online. We were talking about the Eightfold Path. And we were talking about the wisdom aspect of the Eightfold Path. And so tonight we're going to settle back into exploring wisdom and what it means for us right now. And wise view in the Eightfold Path is the wise view of how we relate to our experience. There is our experience in life, which is both joyful and painful. And then how can we bring a wise relationship to that so that we can fully enjoy the joy and not add to the pain or the challenge of the difficult circumstances? And one of the wisdom teachings of this wise view is that when we meet difficult experience or joyful experience, we meet it with our presence of heart, really, our kind of accepting attention. And then that helps us to respond actively and strongly and wisely. And so there's wisdom in both how we meet the experience and then how we respond. And one of the first things we meet when we take the inner journey of meditation is that we often meet a mind that moves around here and there. Does anybody have a mind like that? That just goes wherever it feels kind of like going. And sometimes we can bring this kind of relationship to that mind. We can bring a relationship that wants it to be still, that wants it to be calm. And in that relationship, we can learn what happens when we bring that kind of relationship to our mind. Very often, if we bring that kind of relationship, the mind, it can kind of exaggerate or exacerbate the agitation in the mind. And if we can bring a relationship to the mind of recognition, oh yes, this is the agitated mind. This mind is kind of on a pinball mind, as I like to say, call my mind when it's like that, a pinball mind. Or we might find our mind is kind of constantly on red alert. And then we can bring this relationship to that. Oh, this mind, it's on red alert. And so we welcome all aspects of our mind and heart and body with this kind of recognition, this wise relationship. And then we experiment and see for ourselves if that affects the agitation in the mind. And so this is one of the first wisdoms that we begin to encounter. And so it may be that you'll encounter this tonight as we sit. So I want to just invite us to settle into our inner journey of meditation and see what we meet there and just see how we're meeting what's here. if we can bring in this wise relationship. And so sensing into your body sitting. And we begin this wise relationship right here. Sensing the body, just as it is. The sensations of sitting on the chair. The sensations of the feet on the floor, the hips on the chair, back against the chair, contact of the hands. And then the whole body. With just enough effort just to know there is a body. And there's another area of wisdom that we can bring in to this, how much effort we bring into just knowing there is a body. Just notice in your own body, is there a leaning in, a tightness, a trying to get it right, a striving? Or is there kind of a looseness, kind of bit too loose? Finding the way in the middle where you're relaxed yet awake. With just enough effort to know there is a body. A very light touch. Every so often you can use a little soft mental note if you wish. There is a body. Just to help stay connected. And within the body, you'll notice the sensations of the breathing. You'll notice it in your own way at the chest or the belly or the back, sides of the body, shoulders, or the whole trunk of the body expanding, contracting. All within this light sense, there is a body. There is a body breathing. And then from this anchor of the body breathing, or within this anchor, you'll notice thoughts, emotions, images. Some of them will be pleasant and some may be unpleasant. Some may feel peaceful, some may feel agitating. Seeing if we can be relaxed about this aspect of our experience. And we can whisper a little bit in the mind, oh, agitated mind, busy mind. And without rushing back to the body breathing, we can just rest for a moment with busy mind. Just rest with it, with recognition. With wise relationship as best we can. Oh, this is pinball mind. Other body sensations may also rise, call the attention. Might notice sensations in the body of tightness or relaxation. You might notice the body being kind of on high alert. Seeing if we can bring wise relationship without rushing back right away to the base of the body breathing. And just be with, oh, sensations of high alert. Just be there for a moment. Be relaxed about this as best we can. And then return gently to the there is a body breathing. And so as we rest into the body breathing, with just a light touch, there is a body. And when other aspects of our experience make themselves known, just resting with them for a moment in as relaxed a way as we can. And then returning to this body breathing. In this way, we can rest with pleasant aspects of our experience and know them. And then rest with unpleasant aspects with wise relationship as best we can. Dear friends, I don't know if you're in speaker view or gallery view, but if you didn't go to gallery view yet, take a look in gallery and just allow yourself to appreciate being with these beautiful people, these kind hearts that are here supporting you and supporting your practice. All of us together on this path of wisdom. From Quebec to Sydney, BC, and all kinds of places in between. And so tonight, friends, I'd like to explore wisdom together, the wisdom part of the Eightfold Path. And of course, part of wisdom is just run and woven throughout everything that we do, everything that we practice and hear. And so part of wisdom, of course, is resting in the Sangha, resting in the community, taking support from the Sangha. So what I'd like to explore wisdom tonight. I'd like to offer some wisdom or point to wisdom, the way we already have been doing. I also tonight would like to validate the wisdom in this community, and also want to motivate reflection on everyone's part about what wisdom is it that you're cultivating now. And so today is Wesak Day. It's a significant day in the Buddhist tradition, celebrating the spiritual journey of the Buddha. The Buddha who 2,600 years ago left a familiar and comfortable life, faced a lot of challenges for 6 years on his journey, and then emerged from that with wisdom that he shared with the world. And in a very real way, this is what's happening for us now. 7 weeks ago, we all left a familiar and comfortable life. We entered a time of challenge. And lately in the news, I've been hearing about the returning to a new normal or reopening our economy and our life in a way now back to what we might have as a new normal. And I have this deep wish that we pause here and reflect on what it is we may have learned, we may have cultivated in terms of wisdom in the last 7 weeks. That might be a touchstone for us as we move forward. And of course, the journey will continue because the next phase will be different than we've known again. And so in 1948, Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces, which is a survey of similarities amongst different traditions. And one of the similarities he explored was this movement or process of transformation that people go through, or we go through in an inner way as we become whole. And in a way, this is the Buddhist journey. I like to call it the spiritual journey rather than the hero's journey, because I like that it doesn't have to be heroic and mighty. It's the spiritual journey of the Buddha and of us. And this journey that Joseph Campbell described has 5 major phases. One is the call. The second is crossing the threshold. The third is challenges. The fourth, transformation. And the fifth, wisdom, or returning with wisdom. And the call is often not chosen. Often we're plunged into something we didn't choose. And that's what has happened for us. Crossing the threshold is crossing from the known into the unknown. And as we do that, there are helpers that can help us in this unknown, in this kind of liminal space. And we might think of our helpers in terms of the practice or mindfulness or all of the wonderful inner qualities we can develop in the practices and the teachings and our friends and the Sangha and the refuges of our own inner capacity for peace, all of those helpers. And then the challenging times, how we meet the challenges or what we learn from the challenges then transforms us. And then we return to our lives with wisdom that we can share with the world. And this seems to me to be somewhat parallel to the Eightfold Path, which moves through three baskets. One basket of cultivating inner qualities, another basket of cultivating the mind and the heart, inner meditation, and then third basket of wisdom. And really then it goes back into the world. The Eightfold Path goes back into connecting with the world. And so how do we bring this wisdom into the world, into our relationships with ourselves and others? And in this path, we cultivate wisdom in three ways. One is by hearing or reading information about the teachings and the Dharma. Hearing it from our friends, from teachers, from books, reading it. The second way of wisdom is by thinking about all of these teachings and kind of feeling, thinking about them and how they work, discussing them, trying them out for ourselves. And then the third is, as we try them out for ourselves, we can develop an embodied understanding of the wisdom. And all these three layers or all these three ways work together to cultivate wise view. To cultivate wise view, which we can understand as cultivating peace in the midst of joy and challenge. And so I was thinking, I was going to gather as many themes of wisdom as I could think of that were relevant to our practice, and I'll reflect on my own experience. And then I thought, way better to consult the Sangha. And so I just sent a little email to folks, and I'm going to share some of the wisdom they shared with me, and then invite anyone else who would like to reflect on wisdom that you're cultivating, and email it in or email it into our email, and we can, there'll be more. I've got a lot today, and I can't use it all, but I'm going to fold it in to the weeks that come, and so that we can see ourselves reflected in this wisdom. And so I asked today about folks' experience with reflection on the last 7 weeks, inquiries into the last 7 weeks, and challenges. And so you'll hear in this wisdom all three types of wisdom: learning wisdom and trying it out for ourselves wisdom, and embodied wisdom. And so I thank all the practitioners who offered today. And so here's from one person. They say, let's see if you can, I could resonate with all of this. My learnings seem to be the same insights over and over, just applied again and again to suffering. I'm learning how important it is to stay connected to the Dharma and Sangha friends. I'm feeling teary just because this is resonating so much with my own heart. I'm learning that the Dharma is in me, even though I think I have hit the ditch. I'm learning how important it is to care, to cultivate compassion. That awareness doesn't always change what is happening, but as I say that, it actually does. That insight helps me act more skillfully and wrap a warm blanket around myself or others during these challenging times. Another person wrote, compassionate inquiry can become a place of refuge. I love that idea and the practice. While we want to do what we can to respond to the situation, we can give up striving against it. And we can rely on our personal internal resources and practice mindfulness plus compassion. This brings about a sense of personal empowerment and, if not happiness, possibly self-appreciation. It puts me in a closer relationship with myself. Developing this kind of intimacy with oneself is wonderful. Here's an example of compassionate inquiry that will likely speak to all of us. And this is the inquiry that I addressed in our meditation, in the meditation instructions. Is there anyone here who struggles with quieting the mind? There's a lot of hands going up. I struggle with quieting the mind. And right in there, I can bring compassionate inquiry and wisdom. So I want to thank the person that sent this in because it speaks to all of us. This practitioner says, I have been working recently with struggle to quiet the mind. I keep asking, when and how can I stop being on constant state of alert? Trying to be ready for the next threat, which mostly never happen. My sit times frequently are occupied with this struggle. And we fall into this struggle unconsciously. Of course we want peace, but we may go at it with in a way we might call wise relationship, or a relationship will take us further away from what we want. And so what I'm seeing in this practitioner is a lot of wisdom, and this we can all own. Wisdom in seeing clearly what's happening in their mind. Joseph Goldstein calls this the first, one of the major insights of our practice when we go to sit, where we can see that the mind is busy. And what we can understand in that, have wisdom into, is that we don't control the mind. The mind is, all the things that come into the mind are based on all kinds of causes and conditions. If we could control the mind, who here would control it if they could? And so with this is where wisdom can begin. This wisdom, first of all, seeing clearly, oh, busy mind. Oh, mind is constantly on alert. I notice that when in my body, there's a tightness, there's a leaning in. And I can check into my body just sometimes, every 10 times in a sit, and the body has tightened into that state of alert. And when I notice it, it can ease. And then next time I check, it's tight again. It's the body's hardwired that way. We're hardwired to be on alert for threat. So we can understand this is a cause and condition for that. And so our wise response to this is recognizing. So I'm going to go through the muck practice. Oh, maybe I'll first say this, that I had a similar question once for Joseph Goldstein. And it was that I was always noticing fear, constant fear. And I went to him, I said, Joseph, you can't get rid of this fear. And these weren't the words he said to me. I'll tell you the words he said later, but the gist of it was, sweetheart, is there a way you can relate wisely to this fear? Is there a way you can hold it as if it might be here for the rest of your life? And cognitively I said, no. But the embodied wisdom rose up and said yes. And in that embodied wisdom, there was a shift, a transformation. And I realized that a lot of the struggle was me trying to get rid of the fear. And that once I could accept it and I recognize it, it didn't have the same hold. But that goes against our cognitive understanding, our cognitive and our biological. I want to say our biological wisdom. What we're doing is settling into a different kind of level of wisdom. The wisdom of the practice, which isn't cognitive and it's not biological. So we want to drop this inquiry, this wisdom, into that place of where the practice can hold it. And so here's how one way that we might do that with the muck practice. And so the muck practice has expanded by one letter because a practitioner today offered another letter for it. So muck is now spelled M-U-C-K. So M, still, the mindfulness. I'm going to use this example of the busy mind because it's one that we all have. And I still fall into trying to quiet the busy mind. So here's muck. Instead of so mindfulness, the mindfulness piece is not, if we go into trying to quiet it down, we're trying to make the mind do something different than what it's doing. That's going to stir it up. So with mindfulness in muck, we say, oh, I'm struggling to quiet the busy mind. Oh, this mind, this body is on constant alert. We let go of the struggle against that. It's counterintuitive. This is the part of wisdom where we need to take the teachings and try them out for ourselves and see what happens when we drop it into the embodied place, not the cognitive place, that third place of wisdom. And so, even as I say this, I'm struggling to quiet the mind. In a way, there's a layer of me, a layer of my experience that's almost always trying to do that. And so as I say that, even right now, I'm struggling to quiet the mind. Something in me relaxes. I'm just reporting kind of what's happening for me. And then, the mind is very often on alert. As I recognize that and just say the truth of it, something in me is relaxing. When we align with the truth of how it is, this is wisdom. And so this is where we can experiment for ourselves, each person here, because this will come up probably next time you meditate. What happens if we try this relationship? And then the you, universal, we know we're not alone. Everybody else in this call works with this. You can also see in the you that this is the universal nature of the mind. And that it's not me. And it's not a failing on my part that I cannot quiet the mind. And then the C, that is new addition to our muck. But I always often talk about this. So this wonderful practitioner caught that I usually sneak this in here. And so they put a C in the muck practice, causes and conditions. We can understand that the mind states that move through our experience are created by causes and conditions. It's not me. It's not you. It's not a failing on your part. And that can ease back a little bit. It can ease back the tightness with which we try. And then the K, kindness, may I be kind, right here. And as we do this, one drop at a time, we can experiment with putting down the struggle and see what happens. The struggle with the truth. And then that allows us to bring wisdom, more wisdom in about how to respond. What we might want to respond with, especially if we've had quite a set to with the struggle in the mind, is we might want to bring joy in. And this is a wisdom that other people wrote to me about today, the wisdom of joy and gratitude. So we can take the mind and we can intentionally turn towards all the things we're grateful for. Nourish the mind and the body and the heart with joy and gratitude. And so when we nourish the body and the mind and the heart, and then combine that with our holding or being with the truth of things, what we do then is we place the challenge in the, I want to say, in the crucible of our practice, in the hands of our practice. We just place it there. In a way, we're placing it into a mystery. Placing it into the practice, seeing what works, seeing what happens in our embodied experience over time as we keep practicing, as we keep dropping it in there. And here's something from someone, another wonderful yogi practitioner who said that they've been noticing, as we all have been, uncertainty. And they've been using the muck practice. This is uncertainty. This is how it feels. Kind of feels wibbly wobbly. And they said that, after just a time of noticing wibbly wobbly, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I don't have exactly the words from this practitioner, but I got the gist of it. After a while of being with wibbly wobbly in a non-cognitive way, in a body way, they said, I don't know what'll happen next summer. And then they said, the way I just said that, I realized I wouldn't have been able to say that with as much balance months ago. I would have wanted it more nailed down. And so I love that, this wibbly wobbly practice. Can we be with wibbly wobbly and see what happens? And so, as a way of summarizing, we're hearing the teachings, we're learning the teachings from each other, from the books, from the words of the Buddha. We're trying them out, and we're feeling embodied wisdom rise. Sometimes wisdom rises in funny ways. Sometimes we need to wait for it to rise and just be really patient. And sometimes just in asking the question or asking our inquiries, we don't need an answer as much as simply asking the inquiry is an answer in itself. As we drop this inquiry, these questions into our embodied wisdom, into our non-cognitive embrace of the practice, just having the question there can transform and shift how we are in the world without us needing a cognitive answer. So I'm going to close just by reading one more reflection that a practitioner sent in. They say, my reflection, learning, inquiry for me during this time is, number one, finding new ways to matter and a need to find the trust or confidence that on a down to bone level, I'm significant. That my life, my time on this earth matters. During this pandemic, I have been forced to face in a more intense, raw way, not only the role, intimacy, and sense of purpose play in my life, but how I might meet those needs by cultivating internal strength, equanimity, instead of turning to the more easily accessible, but not as reliable, external validations that have been yanked away. How to love without touch. Wow. Never really had to explore that one before. I always surrounded myself with huggers. How to hug myself. Would a hug by any other name feel as sweet? Against the backdrop of a global health crisis and lockdown regulations, my reflections have taken me deep down fast. And in the analogy of scuba diving, I get the bends if I surface too fast without developing insight. So back down I go, waiting. Number two, I'm grateful for the Dharma, which is sustaining me as I take this deeper dive into understanding impermanence. Not knowing doesn't seem to have ever felt this big. Doubt is present. Is my heart really big enough to hold all this? What is all this? Cultivating patience as I wait to know more is very challenging. And finally, creating stillness and meditating in nature has helped me concentrate my mind. But the psychology of this pandemic, for me, has been where my practice is. I seem to have no will or desire to just keep busy. I have a huge to-do list, but I resist looking at it as everything seems so much bigger than just filling time. The collective vibrations I feel make my to-do list feel shallow. My capacity for care has never had such a roller coaster ride. Meeting the moment has expanded into dimensions that fan out like an accordion. How do I want to be in the world? This question sits with me in a deeper, questioning way than I have ever experienced. There is no hiding from these reflections as I find myself stripped down to my most bare self, me and my truth. I haven't yet said that I am grateful for COVID, but I am grateful for the Dharma, which is helping me meet COVID with equanimity. Let's just sit for a minute and let the words settle. This time touches our deepest inquiries, calls our deepest selves into transformation. Just holding the questions is an answer. It is the response of our wisest, most compassionate self. The self maybe that is larger than our little self. Holding this unfolding wisdom, this wisdom of being with the unfolding of our lives. And so we have some time together to just sit in silence if we wish, enjoying being with the wisdom of the Sangha, with the refuges of the Buddha, this capacity in our own heart for wisdom, for clairseeing, for compassion, resting in the refuge of the teachings, resting in the refuge of the community. And people may also want to share anything that's touching you right now. So friends, let's close there and just appreciate the varied wisdom that's in each one of our hearts. We each know, we each have wisdom. And it's what brought us here. And we each have something we know. And so let's dedicate the merit of our practice. May our wisdom grow and, Andrea's reminding me. Thank you, Andrea. We actually have an extended practice talk tonight. So we're going to dedicate the merit of the practice, and then whoever wishes to stay on can stay on. And we will have another time, 45 minutes or so, where we can continue to talk about practice. And so thanks, Andrea. So let's dedicate the merit of our practice, and then I think we've got a couple of announcements, and then we'll say goodbye to some folks, and some of us will stay on. And so dedicating the time and the effort that we've put in together tonight, may wisdom support our hearts, may wisdom support our minds. This wisdom of wise relationship that we need to learn again and again, and new in every moment, and new every day. Every time we relearn it, it becomes more a part of us. So dedicating our wisdom and compassion to all beings everywhere. Holding our beloved healthcare workers and community workers gently in our care. Holding all beings in Saskatoon and around the planet who are in this situation still together. May all beings everywhere be held in the wise and compassionate heart. May all beings everywhere touch wisdom and kindness in their own being and let it ripple out. May our practice be a cause and condition for peace in the world. Thank you, everybody. I've got a couple of announcements.
Yeah, so the first announcement, Jeannie has, as some of you know, retreats coming up in August, at the beginning of August at Anglin Lake. There's going to be 2 silent retreats in nature. You can come for one or both and make it an extra long retreat in nature, which is always exciting. The first retreat, the theme is kindness, the heart's home, and that will be from August 6th to 9th. And the second retreat, or the second half, will be touching the earth insight retreat, and that will be from August 9th to 12th. So included in that, there will be Dharma talks, silent meditation, camping, and gentle canoeing and time spent on the water, which will be beautiful, I'm sure. Um, Obviously, right now, there's probably some concerns for folks around registering. There's still some spots that are open, and we do encourage folks to register. You don't have to pay right away. As it gets closer to August, we'll be able to confirm with you in regards to whether the retreat will be going ahead and the plan for payment at that time. For folks who have already paid for their retreat, if in the unfortunate event the retreat doesn't go ahead, those registration costs will be refunded in full. So we do encourage folks who are interested to register. Like I said, you don't have to pay right off the bat, but that will reserve your spot in the retreat. So all the details are on the website and you can sign up there.